you're the other one, blind guy.
Yeah.
All right, we're still letting folks in at this time, but feeling pretty good. We've got a good amount of you. Hopefully you all have some wonderful questions for us, but let's go ahead and just get started then. Hello, Cohort 20. Welcome to the live Q&A. My name is Jazz Espiritu. I'm your head of program affairs, and I'm excited for us to dive deeper to any of the content we shared in that video playlist sent to you earlier this week. This live Q&A is an example of how we strive to utilize the resources amidst the limitations we face this year. And I'm honestly thrilled for this event in particular because I get to see a handful of my colleagues and our alum speak to their elements and expertise. In every video, we included a link to submit a question ahead of time. Doesn't look like anyone used that. That's fine because I'm expecting that you all still have some questions here. And while I'll get into the logistics of today in a little bit, first, I want the video creators to introduce themselves. So if you could please provide your name, pronouns, your role at UW and ComLead, and the video that you made for my video creators. And then for our Alumni Fellows, I have a different introduction for you. I want you all to, what do I have here? I want you to do the same thing, but please include where you're currently working or whatever projects you're currently working on. Yeah, and describe, and if one of you as Alumni Fellows could describe the work of Alumni Fellows. So let's start with full-time staff, or let's start with staff and of the video creators, and then we'll jump into the Alumni Fellows. I'll just say, I guess I should start. My name is Jazz Espiritu, head of program affairs, he and him pronouns. I did the student engagement video. So anything about peer-to-peer kind of engagement is I'm the person you want to talk to for that.
Do you need something?
And then I will pass it on to Heather.
Hello, everyone. I'm Heather Werkel, and I am the Assistant Director for Academic Services for graduate programs in the Department of Communications, so for ComLead and our MA PhD program. And I made the academic overview video. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the degree requirements, registration, grad school policies, all of that. And I'm sure Jazz is going to remind people of this, but I just want to throw it out there because we've already had some extra noises. Please be sure to mute yourself when you're not talking so we don't get that background noise. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you, Heather. Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I am Jessica Albano, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm your librarian. I'm the librarian for the Department of Communication. My official titles are the Communication Studies Librarian, News Librarian, and I'm also the head of our government publications, maps, microforms, and newspapers collection, which is a mouthful. That's located in the Suslo Library, and I made the library orientation video. So nice to see you all.
Thank you for being here, Jessica. Alex.
Hello, I'm Alex Stonehill. I'm ComLead's head of creative strategy. And I starred in the video about the partner program. I didn't actually make it. I got the multimedia tutor, Mo Herbert, to collaborate with me, and she was also in it. So I am here to answer any questions about the partner program, beyond the classroom experiences, also the ComLead consultancy, and I can speak to Mo's role as a multimedia tutor as well. She couldn't be here with us today, but anything relating to technology, access, and the multimedia sphere, and getting help with that kind of thing, digital media, cameras, lights, stuff like that.
Thank you, Alex. And Liao couldn't be with us, but we do have Evelyn here. So Evelyn?
Hi, I'm Evelyn Cole, she, her. I am from Cohort 19 and in the MCDM track. Currently, I serve two roles at Conley. First, I'm the event curator at COVID Consultancy. I curate several event series mainly for small businesses and nonprofits impacted by COVID-19. And the second one is during Liao's leave, I help coordinate Conley's First Fridays, career workshops with Link Group, and workshops by Alumni Fellows as well. So if you have any questions regarding our upcoming events, please feel free to hit me out on LinkedIn or send me an email. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. And then we have a handful of folks from the Alumni Fellows here. So I'll go ahead and let the Alumni Fellows introduce themselves. And don't forget to explain what Alumni Fellows is. Any of you can jump in.
Okay, fine. Thank you, everybody, for your incredible silence in this moment. My fellow fellows, much appreciated. Much love to you all. We are the Alumni Fellows. Some of us on here, Yvonne, I can see Tong Tong, Ben. I think there might be more. I know there's a lot of folks in this room right now. I'm guessing Tori is around. What we are a group of alums who serve as really just people who are available to current students this year. We've gone through the program. We have graduated, and now we will be kind of putting on events, workshops, and other things designed really specifically for current students. And then we're available just for like answering questions, to help you make connections, or really anything else that there is. So yep, me specifically, my name is Scott Morris. I'm he, him pronouns. I was cohort 15. I have a creative company called Waka Waka Studios. It's my day job. I'm also a filmmaker. I have a film out right now called Vertical, The Future of Farming. It's a short film playing in 10 film festivals around the country right now. And making TV spots for Pike Place Market was one thing I was doing this week. And I kind of led the charge on the video that we made and got some very, very incredible contributions from my colleagues, of which I was very appreciative.
All right, I will go next so that we're not stuck in silence. Scott, thank you for taking the lead for the Alum Fellows. I'm Ben Porter. I'm from Conley Cohort 18. Pronouns are he and him. I just finished the program in June of 2020, so just a few months ago. Currently working at Amazon in the Amazon Fresh division as a marketing manager. So a lot of my time is spent looking at online pictures of deli meat and hummus and figuring out how to best sell those products back to customers.
Should I go? I'll go. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne, and I graduated March this year. So pretty recent as well. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am from cohort 18. Oh, I feel old. And I am currently a UX content designer at Microsoft.
So I'll go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Tong Tong. I'm also cohort 18, also graduated in March 2020. So cohort 18 and class of 2020. I'm for pronouns, she and her. I'm currently working at SV Concur, focused on the Global Organic Social Program. I did both my undergrad and grad school at UW. So if you have any question about Seattle or like where to find good food, although it's during pandemic, so feel free to reach out. I'm happy to get you to some.
Awesome.
Is that it for our Alumni Fellows? Is that all of you that's here? Okay, cool. All right. Well, as a reminder, well, first, thank you everyone for your introductions. Let me fix this. All right. Thank you again for your introductions. Cohort 20, again, ultimately, this time is for you. You all kind of dictate where we take this next hour or so. So if you have a question, please either ask it in the chat or use the raise hand function, and we'll be able to select you from there, and you can ask your question from there. But this is ultimately your time, so please make it worth it for you. We're here. We're ready to answer any of your questions. Starting now. All All right, so we got a question here from Missy. I'm gonna go ahead and lower your hand here. Go ahead, Missy. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I just had a quick question. Was wondering how many people were in the Cohort 20 group?
That's a great question. Thanks, Missy. Heather, do you have the number? I think I have that number.
We are currently at 111 students that are starting this fall. And then we have another 17 members of cohort 20.5 who are going to start in winter quarter.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. All right. And then we have another question here from, is it Yirong? Yirong? I'm gonna lower your hand. Please correct me too. I'm sure I said your name wrong.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's not so convenient for me to open the camera, so I go directly. I have a question for Heather. And I think I have sent you an email a couple of days. I just want to ask about the orientation video you recorded. But I have a picture. I don't know how to show you all. But I think Heather, do you know my picture?
Oh, is this about the academic policies about grades?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll just briefly, so this was the slide in the video that talked about key academic policies of a minimum 2.7 grade for a class to count towards your degree, and then a minimum 3.0 GPA cumulative to graduate. And what was your question about that?
I don't know how to say. Maybe I cannot get the core meaning of it. I am a little confused. Maybe I need your help to clarify it again.
Sure. And so part of that could be, I realized before I went into those, grade requirements, I didn't mention that UW operates on a 4.0 grade scale. So some other schools use letter grades like A, B, C. UW uses the 4.0 scale. So basically a 4.0 is perfect. That's the highest grade you can get in a class. The graduate school website has a breakdown of kind of how the numbered grades are equivalent to letter grades, and I'll pop that in the chat as soon as I get it up here. So basically, if a 4.0 is the maximum grade that you can get in a class, then the 2.7 is the minimum passing grade. So when at the end of the quarter, when you get your grade for the class you're taking, you have to get at least a 2.7 to pass that class and get credit for it. Does that help?
Yes. Okay, got it. Thank you, Heather. And I have another question. My question is, do we have some activities for this special time, just different from other activities before, and will they be combined with offline activities in the future? And I think this question not just for Heather, but I don't know who I should ask for.
Are you asking specifically about like events and like kind of particular engagements like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I can handle that. I can answer that. Well, for now, obviously with the pandemic, we are going to have to do a lot of our events here virtually. We've done a few things that you saw in the video. We've created a Discord. There's a lot of engagement that's happening in the Discord. So a lot of community building is happening there. I recommend doing that. And the other part of that video was also the comm link. So connecting you individually with a returning comm lead student. So most of the stuff we're going to be doing is virtual, but we are looking into what is possible for us in terms of small group gatherings. Again, though, those are things that we have to really look into and make sure that they're extremely safe and even possible at this time. But right now we are focusing more on the energy that we can do, which is virtually. One anecdote that I'll share about that right now is that my wife works in housing, specifically in grad housing, actually here at UW. So we are required to live on campus. I'm here on the campus right now, and it's move-in week. And what I can tell you is that students are kind of all over the place, and it's very limited here, and there are all sorts of different rules. So we're working on it. We have some ideas, and we've got some protocols that we're working on, but once we have some information, we'll definitely share it with you, because we definitely want to meet you all in person as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Jess.
Of course. We've got another question here. The earliest one I see here is from Niharika, I believe. It's you want to know, how do we apply for a Husky card? So in the past, applying for a Husky card would happen at the office, which is, I believe, oh shoot.
I just put the link.
You put the link up?
Yeah, I put the link up for that in the chat. Odegaard, I think, is what you were
I was gonna say Odegaard,
there.
but I was nervous I'd be wrong.
Yep.
Thank you.
So they actually have a way now where you can get your Husky card by mail. So you don't have to go in person. So wherever you are, you can get that. So I put the link with the details on that in the chat. So yeah, feel free to use that to get your Husky card.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Sarah has a question about finding out that some alum have mentioned doing both MCCN and MCDM tracks. Didn't know that was possible. I was wondering, one, is that something that we needed to know when applying, when you were applying to both tracks? Or two, if it's something still doable, how would one go about doing that? And three, what would be the benefits for pursuing both tracks? / do you recommend it? / what are your thoughts on this? Yeah, Heather.
Yes, so unfortunately, no, that is not possible. It was actually never supposed to be possible. We kind of flew under the radar with that for a few years, and we're told this spring that we can no longer let students get both of the degrees. So the last person to do that was last summer, before that decision came down from the registrar's office in the graduate school. So unfortunately, that is the result of that. But we are actually working on creating a new degree option to replace that double degree, that will be a more comprehensive option with aspects of both the MCCN and MCDM. So we're working on planning that now, and hoping to get that launched next year. So when that is launched, just like now, people can, during the program, figure out that, hey, I applied to the MCDM, but really the MCCN is the better fit now that I've taken several classes, and can change degree tracks. Once that new degree is up and running, you will also have that option to apply to switch into the new degree once it's ready.
All right. Thank you, Heather. Julia looks like it's having some tech issues getting your email set up, but Kirsten, you also mentioned that that you can possibly help with this in terms of the settings on my.uw.edu. Does anyone from our folks have anything to add on to that one?
I do. I'm looking for the link right now on how to set up your email choices, and I'll pop that in the chat. So UW has either Gmail or UW Exchange Online, and here is the link, email choices. So that page has the instructions on how to set that up for whichever one you choose.
Awesome. All right. That's all the questions that's currently in the chat. Oh, wait, no, because we still have some hands up. All right, Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela, she, her. I had a question from earlier, but I have a really quick follow-up question on the dual track. Will the new degree option be more hours like the dual track would have been, or do you know yet?
Yes, so we're still drafting all of the final details, but the plan right now is that it would be 60 credits, so a full 2 years full time for that new option.
And thank you. My original question was, I thought that I had seen at some point a reference to a mid-career affinity group, and I haven't seen anything about that recently. And so I wanted to check and see if that was a thing that was happening and if I missed some communication around it or if that's still in the works. Thanks.
Yeah, I can speak to that. There are a couple things there. One is that there's been like a student and alumni affinity group for mid-career students that kind of grew organically, and I think will be ongoing this next year, but we'll just have to see when they have their first meeting. So that's very student driven, but I will be involved in it as well. So I'll let you know about that. And then as far as, there were some questions on your original application that touched on a more specific program for mid-career students. And that's kind of still in development given everything that's happened with COVID. That's, sort of push that back a little bit, but there may be at the very least some specific course identifications that we can share with you that are sort of recommended for folks who are thinking more about career transitions and leadership positions. So that should be forthcoming, but not anything that should be immediately relevant probably until you register for winter quarter classes in a month or so. Is there anything I missed there, Jazz or Heather?
No, I think you got it. Thanks, Alex. Missy.
Yeah, I had a question as far as it was my understanding, or when I was looking at, I think it was the course webpage for the program. I can't remember which webpage that it said as far as summer reading for cohort 20, it was to come, and I haven't seen any like designated book for the year, but I've seen previous cohorts have designated books for the year.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I just wanted to check on that to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we normally do have a summer reading and activities list. We decided this year, given the pandemic and everything that everyone is dealing with, that we didn't want to add more to your plate. So we did not do that this year and kept it just to within the classes. So Anita Verna Crofts, who teaches 501, I know she sent out some pre-work kind of, pre-information for her class, but we decided not to give you more than that for the program. Okay. And in terms of the common book, we are still deciding on that. That's another thing that we wanted to make sure it was really relevant to the times we're in.
Okay.
And so ICANN wanted to wait and for some books to come out and be published that are very timely. And so we're still vetting that to decide on that. So that will be more of a year-long common book for the whole program rather than pre-reading.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we have a question here in the chat from Blair. For the fees, I noticed there was a note about the Upass fee, but I didn't see that in the account balance unless it's listed differently. 2 questions, is that still required? Or is that what you pay when you go apply for your Husky card?
Me again, I'm guessing. So because of the current situation and classes being remote, for spring quarter, UW waived the Upass fee, and they did the same thing for autumn quarter. So that's normally a required bus pass fee, but given that we're all attending classes from home and therefore don't need to take the bus to campus, they waived that fee. They're still giving the option to purchase a Upass if you're someone who needs that for transportation. So you can still do that, but it's not required for this fall quarter. So that's why it's not showing up.
Isn't Metro fare still free right now as well? Or is it back to being paid?
I have no idea. I've been scared of taking buses.
Yeah,
I just saw a notification on the bus that we started requiring to pay starting in October 1st. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I hit the mute button. Well, all right, Sarah's question is, do we still need to provide immunization records considering most of us will be attending classes from home? It's a great question.
I haven't seen any change to that requirement because for incoming students, that's required before you register for winter classes. and we don't yet know, what the situation is going to be for winter. So I haven't seen any change to that new student requirement.
Thank you again, Heather.
Hey, Jazz, I think we missed a question back further from Julia.
We did?
Asking if we could technically do all track neutral courses to fulfill the MCDM or MCCN elective requirements. Yes, you could. And we have had students end up taking all of their electives as track neutral. So you can do that. I'd say it's pretty rare. Usually, there'll be classes you're interested in that actually fall in one of the degrees or the other. But yes, technically you could complete their electives with all track neutral.
Thanks, Heather. And now I'm seeing the section of the chat that I've missed. So also we've got a question about Comlink. Wondered when we will get the matching results back. Another question open to anyone. What does it feel like to work full time? So I'll go ahead and answer this one first, and then we'll go back to that question. Comlink, the forms are going to be, the soft deadline that we have for the forms is next Friday. So if you have, go ahead and fill out the form, whether you're an incoming student or a returning one. I guess for everyone here, it's more for the incoming folks. We are going to spend some time making sure that we match you correctly with somebody that fits the career aspirations, experiences. So that may take us a while. It's the first time we're trying this program, but we're hoping to get back to you mid-October with a match, and also maybe a list of activities and events that you all can attend together and start building that relationship. So Comlink, after you fill out the form, expect to hear from us mid-October. And the second part of your question was, what does it feel like to work full-time and take more than one course at the same time? Would it be doable or overwhelming? While a handful of us are working full-time, I think that let's Alex, can you speak to this one? And then maybe we'll throw it to some of the Alumni Fellows.
Yeah, I've only taken one class at a time so far, and that is plenty. And I also, working in the program, creates some efficiencies as well sometimes too. So yeah, I would say it can be pretty intense, but have any of the fellows done that, taken more than one class while working full time?
Can I chime in real quick before the fellows, just to let the fellows know, we now have several 2 and 3 credit classes. So there's a difference between taking more than one class and taking more than 5 credits. So just to let the fellows know that now someone could take 2 classes, but still only be in 5 credits.
I mean, I can jump in. I've done it 2 different ways while working full time. I would say one class is more than enough. You will be able to fully focus on that class and actually get everything done on time. The first time I did it, I took 10 credits, one normal through the quarter course, and then another that ran for a full week. And I ended up just taking the week off from work and counting it as PTO and getting those credits done, because I was on a particular timeline when I was running through my degree. The second time I made a mistake and I signed up for 10 credits when I thought I was signing up for 8. So there is your life lesson on checking your credit count. And it was okay, but I would say that I would find it harder to do online because I have found that I am working more full time and there's not as much of a separation between the activities. So you really have to ask yourself, do you want to wake up at 7 a.m. and be plugged into your computer until probably 11 at night, knowing that you're doing catch-up work and figuring out all of the little things, and then doing that twice in a week, and then spending your weekends catching up on homework or work or personal life stuff. So I think it is doable from time to time. And if you have something you really are passionate about, you could explore that route. But I would consult with yourself and figure out what your schedule looks like, what your mental health looks like, where you're at, and know that 5 credits is more than enough, and you'll definitely feel fulfilled going down that path.
I can jump in as well. I was one of those crazy people who worked full-time and did full-time school as well, later towards the degree. So me as an international student, we're required to do full-time. And then I somehow had like full-time internships or full-time jobs going on as well. You'll definitely be sleep deprived. So if you do have the option to not do both full-time, I would recommend not doing it. It's still doable. I'm still alive. I'm still here. But it was definitely a lot.
And I'll jump in too, just, for a different perspective. I was working full time and primarily did one class part-time in school. There was one quarter that I think I took 7 credits. I took a 2-credit class. And I think kind of like what Ben kind of mentioned, it's like it depends on what your priorities are and then, what your opportunities are, right? Because Yvonne's talking about international students, which I think is different right now. You don't have to take full-time classes, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so if you don't have to take full-time classes and you're working full-time and you're not in a rush, like some people are like, oh, I need to get my degree because then I'm going to get a pay raise or I'm going to get a promotion or that kind of thing at my job. If that doesn't happen and you're kind of just there for the experience, to take the classes, to be part of the community, I always recommend, like, you see us Alumni Fellows on this call right here, like, we want to be a part of ComLead more. Most people who kind of go through it feel that same way. And so like staying in it longer, you can have an opportunity to meet more people, to kind of take classes as they're evolving, to kind of get a sense of things. So I definitely, I took 2 years to be in it, and I started 5 years ago. So, that can give you a sense. So if you're not in a rush, then maybe, like Ben was saying, you really focus on that one class each quarter and just make it exactly what you want it to be.
To jump in on that as well, the 5 credits in the one class really does help you figure out how you want to apply that learning when you are working full-time or part-time. Like when I was able to take a 5-credit class and run on that kind of timeline, I was able to take that and turn it into work product every single week. So I can come back to my manager or my team and say, hey, have we thought about doing X? When I would run on 10 credits, less the case. It was more like, great, I'm sending that final email or I'm turning in that assignment, and I'm very excited about it because I'm going to move to the next task. So there definitely is something to be said for taking your time and kind of soaking it in.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and keep us moving forward here. There's a question about partner programs. Is it safe to say that partner programs are internships? Are programs available each quarter?
Yes, they are available each quarter. We found the sort of community demand for partnering with our program through the partner program to be ever growing. So yeah, I think it's safe to assume that there will be many. We even had some come up this summer, sort of midsummer, that so yes, there are many each quarter, lots in the future. As far as what safe to say that they're internships, that's a good question. Technically speaking, you can take the partner program, like do those projects for academic credit as well. It's usually up to 3 credits. It doesn't happen as much recently as it did in previous years. I'm not quite sure why, but yeah, we can either do that through I have an affiliate instructor designation where I can be your independent study supervisor. So technically it's not an internship, it's an independent study. We also think of them like kind of philosophically a little bit different than internships, in that rather than it being like a set number of hours a week that you're kind of sitting with the organization that you're working with or interning with, and there's a lot of a give and take between what you learn from them and what you give to them, and doing sort of more short-term tasks. The partner program tends to be more longer-term tasks where you have a few check-ins over the course of the quarter, but your kind of objective is set at the beginning. You're usually building on skills that you built in a class and then applying those out in the real world, almost like consulting with an organization and providing them with a video or a communication strategy project, or something like that. So that would be the kind of, philosophical or ideological differences between the two. And I think effectively, Heather, independent study credit and internship credit are not exactly the same, but similar. Do you want to speak to that?
But they count the same as far as their electives, and they're track neutral. So that's where those would fall in on your degree requirements. The only difference is that your max number of credits of independent study is 10 that you can take across your whole degree. And for internship, the max is 15. So that's really the main difference.
All right, wonderful. So how many, for the folks who've graduated, how many hours of homework on average per week would you say you had?
I'll jump in. So I think I have a unique experience compared many of my schoolmates who did the same class as I did. So it's called Future of Marketing. So for that class, we were divided into groups. So it's all depends on your teammates, how many hours they want to contribute to the project. So for me, we met, besides the class, we met 2 times per week. And every time we met about 4 hours to discuss our ideas or did research to complete the homework. But I also heard some of my schoolmates, they only meet once per week and only spend 2 to 3 hours to discuss some ideas. And then they will go back home and do their own work. So I think it depends on how much you want to contribute or how much effort you want to put into a single class or your project. So it's all different from people to people.
Yeah, I think that's right. On another note, I did the majority of my projects alone, and I would request to work on them on my own, mainly because they were tying back to the work that I was doing. And so I'd just sync up with the professor typically in the beginning of the quarter and talk through that plan of action. I think it depends on the class. I would say if you're passionate about the projects and you're really trying to kind of get into the weeds on understanding something new and willing to kind of try out multiple versions of whatever document you're writing or asset you're creating, I think 4 to 5 hours is probably a safe bet between reading and actual tasks. That can go up or down depending on how interested you are in the subject or how light or heavy the workload is in that particular week. But I think there's a chunk of time you want to set aside for it.
Last one. And this is where I feel like I can do some evangelizing. Like kind of what Tong and Ben are saying, and I'm guessing you probably have gotten this impression already now that you're joining the program. But this is grad school. Like this is for you. Like this, and for most people, right? This is a choice that we have made to further our education. So for most people, it is, what you want to put into it. It's really largely up to you. Some people can skate by. What's awesome about Conley is that I didn't really come across any of those people. Overwhelming majority, I would say 99% of the people were people that were there because they were curious, interested, passionate, wanting to do something, wanting to further themselves. And so each class, what my attitude was each class I wanted to use as an opportunity to learn something that would help me in my job and my business, and what Ben was talking about, apply it directly. And sometimes that was, just an exercise that I found interesting. Other times it was hugely helpful. To the point of I made a video for a class that was shown on CNN and the Washington Post website and shared by Nicki Minaj, so there's there's lots of stories like that in Conley, actually. And so it is very much largely okay, what do I want to put into this? What are the things about this class that I find interesting that I can kind of explore and utilize in the ways that are most kind of connected to what I care about. So yeah.
Yeah, and also echo to Scott's point. I feel like all the hard working or like all the effort will count. So for me, I think one or two main reasons I love Conley is one because of the people. The second one is because of all the like coursework, the content of different classes, or like the projects I've been done throughout the journey. And also, I remember one class called multimedia storytelling. So we are only, so the requirement is you produce something to tell a story, whether it's audio, video, or just a website. But I team up with two other students, and then we thought, we not only want to do a website, we also want to curate a offline event. So there's a lot of work we need to done in like 2 to 3 weeks to create a like full version of offline event. We also did website. We also did some video productions. So there's a lot of work, but I feel like it's valuable, and I also enjoy the whole process. So sometimes you may get overwhelmed because so we're a team of 3. One student work full-time. I work part-time. Another student also have some side projects to work on. So we're all busy, but we try to figure out some time and to come together. And I think we're willing to put more effort, and that's why we get more and feel like our experience is worth, and we really enjoy working with each other.
All right. So here's a fun question for us UW staff folk. When do we expect to get a decision about the status of classes in winter quarter, whether or not it's going remote or we're going to be in person for winter?
I laughed when I saw this in the chat because as I can share a story in relation to this, but I put the UW official COVID-19 page in the chat. That's where decisions are posted. And really, we get an email with the decision maybe 5 minutes before it's posted on that website. So we don't know before you know. It's everyone finds out at the same time. There's no kind of insider information. And we have no idea when that will be. So for my example was for summer, I sent out the long summer registration email with all the information, and 20 minutes after I sent that email, the announcement came out that summer was going to be remote. So we never know when the announcements are going to be made and when the leadership is going to make that decision. I will say most of us right now are under the assumption that given the current status, based on the status at this time before fall quarter, it's very likely winter is going to be remote as well, because we're not doing better pandemic wise now than we were then. Nothing has improved. So we're guessing it's probably going to be remote, but it's up to the UW leadership, and it'll be posted on that website when they make that decision.
And Heather, don't you think it's fair to say that those decisions, because it's such a big university and administered by the state, that those decisions are being made in coordination with like the State Department of Health and the governor, so yeah, it's just very hard. It's way out of our hands, and perhaps even out of UW's hands, but also, it's the elected officials who have been anointed by the public to, hopefully act in our best interest that are making those decisions. So I don't know. I guess that's just to say it's democratic a little bit, even if it might feel like arbitrary and they tell us what we can and can't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because since we are a public university, we're subject to the laws and guidelines of Washington State. And I will say that our president, Anamari Kause, her key point in all of these decisions has been student safety and faculty and staff safety. And so that's what everything is driven by. And I think that's very clear in some of the decisions they've made, is that it's all about public safety. And if it's not safe to have classes in person, we won't have classes in person.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. And let's see. Are there resources available to help students land internships for summer quarter? Does an internship count toward completing the degree? How are credits allotted?
Heather, do you want to answer the last two parts and then I'll work backwards and answer the first part?
Yeah, I was like, those are very different people to answer those. Yeah, so for the logistics part in terms of to the degree, absolutely. Your internship, if you choose to do an internship for credit, or for international students who are required to do internships for academic credit, those credits apply towards your electives. So those are track neutral credits. As I said, for internship, the maximum is 15 credits. I don't think we've ever had anyone approach that because most people would prefer to take classes and just do the minimum number of internship credits they're required to do for CPT authorization. But on the ComLead Student Resources Canvas site, if you go to the guide to internships, that has step-by-step instructions on what that process looks like, how to calculate how many credits to take for your internship. So definitely check that out on the Student Resources Canvas site.
And as far as finding them, it definitely tends to be pretty self-directed. You know, I think most people's internships, and the fellows can correct me if they've had different experience, but most of those internships are going to be found by the students themselves. We will curate some in the weekly jobs email that hopefully you all should be getting. We'll only list paid internships there typically. So you'll see some there. And then going back to the partner program, independent study credit eligibility, technically we curate a lot of things that are, you know, to my previous points about the difference between internships and partner program projects. There are, you know, applied learning opportunities that we typically have some for summer quarter as well, which you could technically do for academic credit as an independent study. So there's certainly that. And in summer, there tends to be less demand or less competition from students for those as compared to the number of listings we have. So certainly that's a viable way to think about how would I find something to do during the summer that was internship-like.
I'll jump in to add a few more points. I did 2 internships during my ComLead experience, and both of the internships was found through ComLead connections. So I'd say the people you meet in this program can be the biggest resource of your life. I'm not exaggerating, because I know for sure, like if I just directly apply through LinkedIn and not having this ComLead connection, I would have a way harder time finding my first and second internships. So meet the people, talk to them.
All right. So does ComLead have a capstone project or similar group project prior to graduation?
I will say no. My one caveat on that, and I think it goes back to everything we've said from the alum perspective, you can create your own capstone. There are research opportunities on top of that. The majority of the classes that I took had some kind of final project or group project that kind of culminated all of the research and learning that you had already done. And it's up to you to take that on and figure out what you want to do with that. I think a good example on my end, just to push you in the direction of like explore every opportunity. I had been trying to do a user research project within my job for about 2 years, and every email that I had sent had gone unanswered by that department. Not interested in helping me, very busy people. My last class through the program was a user research course. Working with that professor, I finagled a new email where I mentioned that I was a graduate student through the University of Washington Communication Leadership Program. I was very interested in exploring user research. I got a response back, and I ended up being able to use that course as a way to kind of like take all of that learning and push it into a program that we're now using in the marketing department to do short qualitative studies on how folks are shopping for groceries online during the pandemic. So like that was my capstone and something that I was able to apply to my job in a way that I thought was interesting. But the actual assignment was, okay, go digest all of this material and interview some of your friends or families and come up with kind of your user research project. So there's a lot of flexibility in the courses that you'll take and the folks that you'll meet. And it's up to you to kind of figure out what you want to do with that as the next step.
Yeah, and I would add that there are some things in that direction that are sort of in the works right now. I wouldn't want to overpromise because I'm not sure about the timing and whether it would be relevant to cohort 20, but certainly as related to that mid-career emphasis that we've been talking about, that's one of the ideas that have been kicked around, and to kind of morphing that's happening with the partner program and the COVID consultancy. It's possible there would be more curated capstone-like things. It's unclear exactly what that will look like, but to Ben's point, and many other people would support that, I'm sure, there's a lot that you can do, a lot of flexibility both within classes that you're taking as well as independent study options. And a lot of students do an independent study towards the end of their time with ComLead, where they're, it's either a project that they wanted to do at work, like Ben was describing, where they get a faculty member to advise them, or, they design something with a kind of organization that they want to work for and kind of arrange it on their own. So there's certainly capacity to develop that, but we're still working on the more supportive kind of framework around that.
All right, awesome. And it looks like Jessica has a little bit of a tag here too. Jessica, did you want to mention this?
If I can find my unmute. Yes, I've helped a few people that have done some of these research competitions, and there's a few for interdisciplinary projects. Some of the environmental challenges have been fun, and the health competition as well. So not only team up amongst yourselves, but I know some of the students work with people in the business school as well.
Cool. Thank you. Folks, we have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try to move us a little bit forward and a little bit faster. I see your question, Angela. I'm going to go through a little bit of the chat first, and then we'll get to you. Would partner programs hire students from cohort 20 for the autumn quarter, as we have lesser credits compared to cohort 19?
Yeah, I can answer that really quickly. Yes, we evaluate those applications kind of with a little bit of an eye to how close people are to graduating, whether they're likely to get an opportunity in a later quarter, and of course, do they have not necessarily credits, but class experience that they'd be able to carry forward into a partner project. But that said, we opened the partner projects for autumn quarter to cohort 20 for a reason. So we don't intend to just reject you all out of hand. Right now, I think I'm looking at the applications, like maybe a third of them are from cohort 19 and earlier, and the rest are from cohort 20. So you're certainly in the mix. If you haven't applied yet, don't let that be the thing that stops you. It maybe reduces your chances a little bit, but not massively, especially if you're highly qualified.
Thank you. Heather, your answer to Maria's question, is that for both of her questions there? I think it's a really important part, so I'm going to just read it out loud, but is it pertaining to her first question?
Yeah, so I was basically responding to the same thing UW did for autumn, they would do again for winter if USCIS again says that international students on an F1 have to take an in-person class. They haven't said anything for winter yet. But if they do, UW has already stated that they will do the same thing they did for fall to make sure that can happen.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Angela, go ahead.
In terms of taking courses that are outside of ComLead, are we constrained to the 5 credit hours, or is it just that that's all that will apply to our degree?
That's an excellent question. So you can apply up to 5 credits from outside the department towards your 45 credits of degree requirements, but you can absolutely take more than that if you want to. So we've had, for example, several students complete a graduate certificate at UW, and those tend to require 15 to 20 credits in another department. And so students who've done that have, cross-counted 5 of those credits to their 5 credits outside the program and the certificate, and then the rest of those classes were just towards that certificate and didn't count towards their ComLead degree. I'll say just another note on that. It's also very common for international students to go above and take 50 credits total in the degree, because in their final quarter, they're only required to take 5 credits for the way the full-time status works out. But a lot of people will still go full-time that last quarter and end up with 50 credits instead of 45, and that's okay.
Is there a place to look at the list of these graduate certificates, Heather? Question from Sarah.
I will get that link for you and pop it into the chat if we want to move to another question while I'm doing that.
Yeah, well, I actually don't think that there are any other questions unless anyone else sees one. And we are down to the last 2 minutes. So while Heather is doing that, I'm going to pause for like 10 seconds to see if any other question shows up. All right, I think we're good. While Heather is getting that together, I just want to thank everyone for being here. You all had some really, really great questions. I also want to just special shout out to both the Alumni Fellows and any folks who created videos. This was probably my favorite part of developing orientation, was getting to see you all in your craft and in your element. So thank you so much for your videos. It's opening our minds up into what other ideas we can do in the future in terms of creating content for all of you. Yeah, thank you all so much. This was pretty wonderful. And it looks like Heather's got the link up there. If you have any other questions, remember, these are the minds to ask them about it. So gather their information. Their information is provided in the videos. And from at that point, or at least at this point, keep in mind, everyone, Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, that is orientation. We're going to go from 8:30 to 11:30. We're thrilled to have you. We're thrilled to connect you with everyone at ComLead. Thank you again to my video creators and Alumni Fellows for being here. And yeah, thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. It's Friday. Go enjoy the weekend. Do your thing. Do the wave. Do the Zoom wave.
Thank you.